Hi Storymakers, welcome back to the Puffin Library. It's time for your next Storymakers show with me, Rosie Tells Tales, and an incredible lineup of your favourite authors and illustrators. On today's show, author Rachel Morrisroe and illustrator Richard Merritt are sharing their brand new book, The Robin Who Stole Christmas. It's the inspiration for this year's Craftmas Challenge, where you will be crafting your own crew of Christmas crooks. Author Katie Kirby is going to spill the beans on creating the Lottie Brooks series, and will be showing you how to write and draw your own diaries Lottie Brooks style. And historian and author of City of Stolen Magic, Dr. Nazneen Ahmed Pathak, will be transporting us from India to Victorian London and helping us to use writing magic to create our own magical charms for the new year. Your Season's Readings gift pack is ready and waiting for you on the Puffin School's website, with all the crafts, activities and resources from the show. You'll also find your next Season's Readings calendar, with another year of reading prompts so we can discover and discuss more books to fuel our imaginations. So let's put your librarian skills to the test. Pick a prompt from the calendar and think of a book that you could recommend to a friend. What will you choose? How about Wild Worlds? Do you know any good books about animals or looking after our planet? Perhaps Heroes Real or Imagined. What story has a character that you think of as a hero? Or maybe festive and funny. Do you have a favourite festive book? Pick a prompt, turn to a talk partner, and let's have 10 seconds on the clock. Did you get any good reading recommendations? I've given you my top 12, and our December prompt is festive and funny. So our season's reading will be a sneak peek of The Robin Who Stole Christmas by Rachel Morrisroe and Richard Merritt. Rachel taught us how to make dragons and unicorns grow. She's even shown us how to shrink down our drama llamas. But what you may not know about Rachel is that she's Puffin's resident festive fairy. Hold on, sorry, we're getting some breaking news. Breaking news! There are reports that Christmas has in fact been stolen. We go now to our roaming reporter, Rachel. Rachel, Puffin HQ is receiving reports that Christmas has been stolen. Are you able to report back to the Storymakers the source of these outrageous claims?
Thank you, Rosie. Hello, Storymakers. Rachel Morrisroe here. And yes, there have been reports that a suspicious-looking robin has been spotted loitering around some Christmas trees. We're still waiting on confirmation that this is Rotten Robin. But don't worry, Storymakers. No festive objects like fabulous Christmas glasses or delicious mince pies have been stolen yet. Well, more on that story later. But now, this cheeky little robin here. And he was inspired by a little robin who used to visit my garden. He's very sweet. He had a really cute puffy red tummy and he was really innocent looking, and he'd pop in and nibble at the bugs on the cobbles. And I thought, what if this little robin popping into my garden is not quite as cute as he seems? What if he is a super villain? Now then, a picture book is not a picture book without amazing pictures. And I've been really lucky because I have been able to work with superstar illustrator Richard Merritt on this book. So without further ado, over to you, Richard.
Hi Storymakers, Richard here. Now, as an illustrator, it's an exciting day when you receive a really funny story to illustrate. And like Rachel, I also love Christmas. But what I loved about illustrating this book is that it allowed me to get up to so much mischief. It was great fun to reimagine the birds that we think of as sweet and show them to be sinister. And I got to imagine all the carnage they could cause on each page. Now, while Rachel and I share a snippet of the story for our season's reading, see if you can spot any of Rotten Robin's mischievous acts against Christmas.
The Robin Who Stole Christmas by me, Rachel Morrisroe, and Richard Merritt. Mostly, little robins are as sweet as they are jolly. As much a part of Christmas time as mistletoe or holly. But this tale is about a bird there's very little good in. For rotten robins back in town, so hide your Christmas pudding.
Rotten didn't care about the joy that Yuletide brings us. He didn't care for mistletoe, or lights, or carol singers. The happy warmth of Christmas cheer, this Robin didn't feel it. That's why he formed an awful plot. Christmas, I shall steal it.
I'll whisk away the presents and get rid of every tree, so no one will have festive fun, and all because of me. I'll even kidnap Santa Claus, for he's the main attraction. He planned and schemed till Christmas week, and then flew into action.
First, Rotten Robin got himself a grim and grisly crew. Of all these crafty crooks, only the nastiest will do. Foul owl, you're perfect for the job. You too, unpleasant pheasant. Together we will rid the world of every Christmas present.
Now, Christmas will be mine, he shrieked. Mwah! Ha 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 ha! And with a broom, the wicked trio raced off in their car.
What will that grim and grisly crew get up to, and will Christmas be saved? Each year we set you a Craftmas challenge, upcycling the materials that we find lying around at this time of year. Things like paper plates, wrapping paper, cracker hats and more. Let's see how we can craft our own crew of crafty crooks. Which crafty crook are you going to make? Rachel, Richard and I have made one each and we have gifted them to each other. In your mission packs, you can follow step-by-step instructions and complete a writing challenge to hide inside. You can write a list of what your crafty crook stole or write a Christmas confession. Let's see which crook I've received and what is hidden inside. Now, I know you. You may be cute, but you are the unpleasant pheasant. And look, it can have a bit of a flap. I think its wings have been made out of cracker hats. That's clever. Shall we see what is hidden inside? We've got a Christmas confession. It says, I actually think Christmas pudding is revolting. I know Richard is not a fan of Christmas pudding, so I think that you were made by Richard.
You got me. I think Christmas pudding is foul. And speaking of foul, look what I've got. My very own foul owl. And don't you love how he's made with old paper plates for his wings and a toilet roll for his body, so you can make one easily too. Shall we take a look inside? Ooh, I found something. I think this is a confession. Once before Christmas dinner, I ate an entire tray of Ferrero Rocher. I think it must be Rachel. Ooh, and hang on there, Rachel. I've got one for you.
Wow, I love that. Thank you so much, Richard. I'm so excited to receive my own little rotten robin in the post. Hang on, what's that noise? Storymakers, can you hear sleigh bells? Oh my goodness, everyone, a present has just dropped down my chimney. I wonder what could be inside. Oh my goodness, it's a Christmas miracle, everyone. My little rotten robin from Richard is here. I love how he's made out of a toilet roll, just like Foul Owl. And I love his cute little wings. Look, it really looks like he's flying. Do you think there might be anything inside? Let's have a look. Ah, I think this is another confession. Should we read it and see who we think it's from? I once ate all of the chocolate in my sister's advent calendar. That's a bit cheeky, isn't it? I think I know a fellow chocoholic when I see one. And I think that this confession is Rosie's.
That was definitely not me. In your gift packs, you will find a guide to this year's Craftmas Challenge, your writing prompts and some puffin gift wrap. Tell your teachers to share pictures of your crafty creations with us. We love to see what you create. Next up is our January prompt, shh, that's private, where we spend our January days reading other people's diaries. No, not like that. Reading books that feature or are written as a diary. And someone who knows all about writing diaries and keeping them not so secret is author of the Lottie Brooks series, Katie Kirby. In her last book, we heard all about Lottie's class having a disastrous school trip. And this time, it's Lottie's completely chaotic Christmas. What is going on today? Katie, welcome to the Puffin Library of Christmas Chaos.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I feel right at home.
So Katie, you must be very brave. You've made it your job to write diaries that loads of people get to read. Have you always kept a diary? And how top secret were they originally?
I have, and particularly when I was in my teenage years. And so now, even though that they're very embarrassing to look back on, they're lots of fun and a good way to record your special memories and things like that. I've got a couple of them with me today, actually. Wow. These are from when I was, I think these are like 13 and 14 years of age.
This one's got a padlock on it.
Yeah, that one's especially top secret to keep out my sisters, who are always keen to get their hands on them.
So before you wrote your book, you dared to share your own diary on the internet. It was about the funny side of family life from a mum's perspective. It was very funny and very honest. How did it feel to allow lots of people to read your diary?
It was pretty cringeworthy at first, to be honest, and I was quite worried about what everyone would think about it. So I decided to do it without telling any of my friends and family. And then as more people started to read the blog and I got more people following on social media, my friends were coming back to me and saying, oh, have you seen this article that they found online? And I was like, yeah, I wrote it. So it just kind of came out naturally.
They didn't realise it was you?
No.
And they were telling you about it?
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It felt pretty good. It's lovely to hear that people enjoy your writing, obviously.
So you no longer share your own diaries, but instead write the diaries of Lottie Brooks. How does writing a diary for a character compare?
It's a lot of fun because instead of waiting around for things to happen in your everyday life, you can just make stuff up. And I use a lot of my material from my old diaries and things that I was doing when I was like Lottie's age at 13 for inspiration. And I also talk to my son and he tells me things that have been happening at school, and my niece and quite a few different kids that I know.
And didn't you go on a school trip with your son?
I did. I went away on a 2-day residential trip with a lot of 10-year-olds, and it was a bit crazy, and it led to the creation of the totally disastrous school trip of Lottie Brooks.
It was a true story.
It was.
I know a lot of our story makers are huge Lottie Brooks fans, but for anyone who's not met Lottie yet, how would you introduce her?
Well, why don't we draw a picture? So this is Lottie. She has sort of a side fringes like this. She always wears a red hair bobble. It's her hair, and we just put a few hair streaks in like that. Let's draw her with a t-shirt on today, because she's just had one of their favourite meals, which is a Big Mac from McDonald's. But unfortunately, in true Lottie style, she's also spilt sweet and sour sauce all down her favourite t-shirt. So she's not very happy about it. She has brown hair that she finds really boring. She always wears a red hair bubble. And let's just make that sweet and sour sauce look like sweet and sour. There we go. Now Lottie is just about to start high school on her own in the first book, so she's feeling quite nervous and quite unsure of herself, and she's not starting high school with any of her friends, so she's feeling quite negative about the whole thing, especially after her McDonald's malfunction and getting sweet and sour all over her favourite t-shirt.
We've all been there.
Yeah, so there is a big general aura of doom surrounding her in this picture. There we go.
Amazing. Hello, Lottie. These stick drawings work so well and always make me laugh. I'm also a huge fan of Lottie's wonderfully sarcastic hamsters creeping onto the page to talk back to Lottie.
Yep, I absolutely love Fuzzball III and Sir Barnaby Squeakington. It's so much fun coming up with the commentary that they have on Lottie's life.
What do you think they would say about your diaries? For our creative missions, we are taking inspiration from the Lottie Brooks style of diary keeping, from starting with a thought of the day to incorporating stick drawings, to giving Barnaby Squeakington and Fuzzball III a chance to react to your diary entries. Katie, do you have any tips for the story makers?
The thought of the day is good for focusing on what you or your character is thinking. Use stick drawings to show what happened. Use the writing space to explain how your character is feeling.
They are great tips. And finally, the things that you draw are so funny. How do you choose what to draw from Lottie's day?
Well, I often think of something quite random. In fact, the more random, the better. I'll leave you with this picture of Lottie. It's from her Christmas holidays.
While you are all trying to hum and hold your nose, let me give you your creative diary prompts. You can choose to write a diary entry imagining a completely chaotic day in the Christmas holidays, or perhaps a practically perfect day in the new year. You can't hum and hold your nose, can you? Tell your teachers to send your creative diary entries to us, unless of course they are top secret. Do you believe in magic? And what would you do if it was being stolen? For our February prompt, Tales from Another Time or Place, you're invited on an unforgettable journey through the eyes of Chompa, a brave Indian girl who is learning writing magic from her mum when her mother is snatched from their village in India and taken to a faraway place known as London. Author and historian Nazneen Ahmed Pathak is going to introduce us to her book, City of Stolen Magic.
Hi story makers, I'm Nazneen Ahmed Pathak, and I was inspired to write City of Stolen Magic for my son Roshan. I wanted there to be a story that gives voice to a child's experience of discovering that colonialism exists, And as a historian, I wanted to bring the magic of Bangladesh to more bookshelves. We start the story in Bengal. It's 1855. Crops are failing and families are running out of food fast. Last season, farmers were persuaded to turn rice fields into indigo fields, and now nothing will grow in the soil. Our protagonist, Jumper, and her mum, Amina, are both witches with magical powers. Amina is asked to use her writing magic and find a magic spell to help the crops grow again next season. Jumper desperately wants to help too, but Ammi forbids Jumper from using her magic until she's older and has learnt to control her powers. Jumper has always known that she can harness powerful magic through her index finger, and her magic is stronger than Ammi's, but she is told she must first learn magical languages and writing magic, which Jumper finds far more boring. So she decides to take matters into her own hands and prove she can control her magic. But unfortunately, a disaster follows. As a result, Jumper's mother is kidnapped. Ammi makes Jumper promise to stay hidden, study her spellbook, and not remove her taviz unless she is safe and with someone she can trust. I'm going to read you a short snippet of the story from just after Ammi is taken. Mohsin, a friend of Ammi who Jumper has never met, arrives at their home with a letter that Ammi had written to him days before she was taken. Here's that letter. My friend, what I feared most has taken place. I had to use finger magic, and now I don't have many days left before they find me. Please come. The address is on the other side of the envelope, and keep Jumper safe for me. Teach her what I should have a long time ago. I know I don't have the right to ask after all these years, but you're the only one I can turn to. Amina. Jumper bit her lip to stop herself from crying as she put the letter back in the envelope with a shaking hand. Carefully, she placed it in her pocket. It's my fault. I have to get her back. But the men, their hands were so large, their skin so pale. I've never seen anyone like them. I think they might have been demons. How can I defeat demons? Mohsin looked up, excited. They were pale? She nodded, and Mohsin clapped his hands together. Then I think I know something about the men who took your Ammi, Jumper. I think they were British. Jumper blinked. British? Mohsin took a stick and drew a circle on the ground in front of him. Within it, he sketched out one small shape that looked like an anxious rabbit peering over its shoulder, and then a much larger one, like a proud bull kicking its back legs across the earth. Britain is a country thousands of miles away. If this is the world, then Britain is this small shape, while we are this bigger one. With all these countries, he sketched shapes between the rabbit and the bull, and 7 seas and 13 rivers in between, as they say. I'm certain that those pale men you saw came from there, where they're almost all coloured that way. There they speak English, a language they're wanting to establish here too. Jumper clapped her hands together as pieces of a puzzle clicked together in her mind. English! I heard Ammi speaking English in her sleep. But what are they doing here? What do they want with Ammi? Mohsin's mouth was set in a grim line. For many years, the British have been very interested in the riches that India has to offer. So interested that I'm afraid they have taken many of these riches for themselves, and often by violent means. Jewels, silk, tea, indigo, spices. Already they've stolen so much, and, he hesitated, and perhaps this now includes India's magic. There are rumours of traders capturing magical people, and it seems they now know how to trace them too. That's very worrying. Jumper looked at him. So, So you know that Ummi has magic? Mohsin's grave face broke into a warm smile. Oh, Jumper, I do indeed know she has magic, a most wise and talented witch. Jumper had never heard anyone speak about Ummi that way. She recalled the wary faces of the villagers, the insults she and her mother would hear being spat across the river. She felt a pride and longing for Ummi burn inside her. So they've taken her to Britain, thousands of miles away. How would she get there when she hadn't even heard of the place until a few minutes ago? The search for Ummi takes them first to the city Dhaka and then out to sea to travel to Victorian London. They board a ship owned by the company. The company is stealing magical people and taking them to England to sell them for profit. The company is based on a real company, the East India Company. The East India Company was formed to trade in silk and spices from Asia. It became extremely powerful, but they didn't use that power for good. They were given the power to colonize countries like India by the British government. In City of Stolen Magic, the ship is powered by a tree with a magical spirit, a jinn. You may think I've made the jinn up, but I'm sure you've heard of a genie like in Aladdin. Genie originates from the Farsi for jinn, jinni. How many of these magic words and phrases do you recognise? The ship docks in East London, where Chomper's friends stumble on a place called the Home for Strange Children. I based this on a real home for Asian and African sailors located in East London called the Stranger's Home. Here's a picture of it. Sailor homes were often found close to the docks, offering lodgings for sailors from all around the world. Jumper and her new friends search high and low for Ummi and meet other magical children and strangers along the way. Lots of the magical elements were inspired by how magical charms have been used all over the world, like this Arabic charm. Words are so powerful, so your story-making mission is to choose an intention word and create your own magical charm for the new year. Here's mine. I've chosen the intention word, imagine. And my magical charm for the new year is, if you close your eyes and breathe deep sighs, if you take the time to open your mind, what kinds of treasure might you find?
Wow. What will your intention words be for the year ahead? Let's get some inspiration. We can't wait to see your magical charms displayed in your schools. We will be back in your classrooms for World Book Day, where we will be getting curious. We will discover how to read and write like a detective with Robin Stevens, how to see the world as an artist with Ed Fear, and how to write out of this world stories with help from Dr. Sheila Kanani. Can we say a huge thank you to our amazing authors and illustrators. Thank you, Rachel Morrisroe and Richard Merritt.
Bye, story makers!
Happy Seasons readings!
Thank you, Katie Kirby.
Bye, story makers.
And thank you, Nazneen, Ahmed, Pathak.
Bye, story makers. Have a magical new year.
And thank you for joining us in the Puffin Library Story Makers. We love having you be part of our book club all year long. So show us how you're taking part by using the hashtag StoryMakersShow. Sending you all seasons readings from everyone here at Puffin Books, where we believe that reading is magic. Bye, story makers.